All right, y'all, what's going on? It's Combo Breaker 99 back with another video. All right, y'all, so I had to come through in midweek, with this one because I just checked out this interview with Dakota Ditcheva and Ariel Helwani. And, of course, the big question came up, so I had to get my thoughts on this. And it pretty much it pretty much is playing out the way I felt it was going to here because y'all know, look, whenever a fighter wins a belt over at another organization and the organization is paying them out a lot of money, I think we can already say that, hey, that person is going to be in contract to that organization for a while, right? Because we got to admit, PFL is not necessarily like a stepping stone to the UFC, right? We see it as that, but it really isn't. It's like its own entity right now because it's part of Bellator. Bellator and PFL unified, whereas other organizations like Cage Warriors and LFA, everybody knows that those organizations are their stepping stone, right? Because shoot, they're on UFC Fight Pass, right? But yeah, anyways, but listening to the article here, listening to the interview and just reading through the article here, of course, Ariel Helwani asked her about the big fights, the UFC, and being matched up with Manon, Grasso, and Valentina. And yeah, she just pretty much said, hey, she's gonna be fighting for PFL next year, like we all thought. She's trying to find out who the next person is going to be, or her next move is going to be, is it going to be another tournament, or as far as a super fight, we don't know, right? But this is what she said when he asked if she's going to join the UFC. It's crazy, she won't even really say the UFC's name, I wonder if she's in contract to not say UFC, because I've never heard her say UFC. Every interview I've heard, it's always like the person's name, the fighter, or other organization. That's what I hear her say. I mean, let me know if y'all ever heard her say UFC. It seems like she can't really acknowledge them right now, like it's in the contract. But this is what she said. I'm locked up with the PFL. I'll definitely be fighting for PFL next year, especially after I just won the title. That locks me up again. I've got to defend it, and I'm not planning on abandoning that belt just yet. All right. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I felt she was going to do. I mean, she just got the belt with the PFL. I know, again, like I said, it seems like a graduation type of step where you say, okay, I won their belt, let's move on to something better. But seeing as how she is locked in with the contract, they're not going to let you go just like that, right? Like when she first signed the contract, it was probably like, okay, this thing's going to be extended for a while. If you're going to get this $1 million from us, you still got to stay with us because, hey, we were your main source of income as well as your main promotion, right? So they're not just going to let her build a name off of them and win the belt, take $1 million, and then run with it, right? So I knew at some point we were going to hear, okay, this contract is probably going to be a little bit more extensive, where she's going to go out, another 2 or 3 years, and continue to promote PFL, because PFL promoted her, but at the same time, they're going to expect her to promote them. It's not going to be like all take. She's not just going to be taking. You're going to have to give back to a company, right? Especially when they build you up, you're going to be here promoting them. So I could definitely see that happening now at this point. So yeah, like she said, she's not abandoning the belt yet. So they've got her locked in for another year. Like I said, maybe another 2 years, depending on what type of money they give her, right? She also said this, I don't know what the situation is, whether you'll see me fighting the tournament again or have big fight. I don't know. We'll have to see, but I'm definitely with the PFL. All right. So yeah, nothing's really locked in as far as the direction it's going, but that she does have a contract with them to fight. It's probably just like a fight contract with maybe 2 or 3 more fights on it, but how they put it together, we don't know, right? So a tournament again, I mean, for me, my thoughts on that, I don't really think another tournament is going to be beneficial to her. I mean, again, it's going to benefit the company more so because they're going to want to see Dakota fight, but are we really going to want to see Dakota fight another tournament? Not really, right? Because they already brought over the best fighters that they could, the fighters from Bellator, former title contender like Tyler Santos. So really at this point, is it really going to benefit the fans? Not really. Maybe her as far as financial wise, but even then, your stock's going to go down because if you stick out the PFL another year or two, your stock will go down because we'll just go right back to the UFC and focus on the fighters that are fighting the best fighters, right? So her fighting a tournament again, they putting another one together. I mean, doesn't really make sense right now because it's going to be the same fighters. I mean, who right now do we think really has a chance against Dakota. I mean, you got Samiko Naba, you know, she's been out with injuries. Caitlin Neal, like I named before, Chelsea Hackett again, you know, don't see those fighters beating her, right? What's the other one's name? Cornelius Holm, you know, all of those fighters. I mean, Liz Carmouche is a name she mentioned, but even then, like, is she considered the best of the best now since she lost to Tyler? No, like, we've already weeded out who the best fighter is. You know, the Jenna Bishop is gone. Liz gone. Tyler was the last one standing. So now Tyler fights her. Boom, she loses. So that's the best right there. But with her sticking around, I mean, it's not really going to benefit her as far as her stock, I think, in the long run. You know, it's definitely not going to be something the fans are going to want to tune into. I can definitely tell you now that the numbers for another tournament for her is going to go down because there are no other fighters right now outside of the UFC, you know, that really hold that type of interest, you know. She also said this: I've just beat the top girl that PFL has. The only other person would be Liz Carmouche, so I'm not really interested in going down. I need to go up and fight better competition. Fighting a big super fight would benefit me more. I feel like people would want to see me back in the tournament fighting the same. I don't feel like the people would want to see me fighting the same girls again. Liz Carmouche is probably the only big name. She was Bellator champion, so I think that's the only one right now that would make sense. But I'm not sure. Santos beat her. I don't know what makes sense for me right now. So the way she kind of ended it right there too, it just kind of shows you that the pressure's on her, and she kind of feels like, I don't know what to do at this point. Like, yeah, she's, you know, locked into this contract, but it's money. But at the same time, it's like, you know, I don't know what to do. Like, even she doesn't really see like another good matchup for her. Because, I mean, she has to be honest, too, with herself. Like, Liz Carmouche, of course, is a decorated champion. She is one of the, you know, top fighters in WMMA. She was at one point. But now, let's be real. Like, is that really a fight that people want to see? Is it really a super fight? You know, I can't really say it is. And with her saying she's hunting for a super fight, I mean, you might as well put that on pause right now because there is no super fight. Like, even the UFC doesn't really have super fights with the women right now. I mean, the biggest fight you could make in WMMA would be like Weili versus Valentina as far as just name versus name. But even then, there's really no super fight for the women. There can be good fights. I mean, there can be legacy fights, but as far as super fights, as far as bringing like big crowds in, there's really no fight like that for her, you know, here, even at Bellator. But you could still make some good significant fights at the UFC, right? So there really is no other fight, I don't think, right now for her that really makes sense. Of course, financial wise, she's going to do it. She's obligated to. She's in the contract. But as far as us tuning in right now and saying, oh, you know, her stock's going to go up by beating these same girls, not really. I mean, the knockout ratio, her finishing ratio is definitely going to go up. But other than that, I mean, you know, the opponents she's going to be fighting, I mean, we can't really give credit for after that, right? So, I mean, it's not really her fault in the end. I mean, she signed a contract, probably didn't know what it was going to lead to at this point. And now that she's locked in, she's just fulfilling it, right? But I think she even knows that at some point she's going to have to make that move. And I don't think she's really going to consider signing with the PFL again, you know, because like she said, this is just part of her contract. So I don't think she's going to re-sign another year after this. But it does look like, unfortunately, she's going to be fighting for the PFL, you know, for another year or so. But yeah, let me see. Yeah, like the part where she said fighting a super fight would benefit her. There really is no super fight. You know, there really is none. I mean, fighters like Clarissa Shields, Savannah Marshall, are those fighters she's going to move up and fight? No, like, those are only fights I can name, like, in the PFL that have names, but they're too big for it, right? You know, they're too big, and, you know, that's just not in the weight class for her. So there are really no other flyweight fights. She could fight Liz Carmouche just to get another name and get another veteran on there, but would that really benefit her? No. Like, what if she loses? You know, what if she loses? So that's another thing you have to look at too. Like, the longer she sticks around here, you just never know. Like, styles make fights, and somebody could come along and just pull off an upset on her off day, and then boom, the stock goes down, right? All it takes is one loss sometimes to kind of, you know, make people change their perspective about how dangerous you really are, right? Because you lose over here to Liz Carmouche or somebody that comes along and just happens to know how to beat your style or handle your style. Next thing you know, people will say, oh, yeah, she don't stand a chance against Manon or Valentina or Grasso, you know? So, yeah, that's just what it is where we're at this point. So, again, I'm not mad at her as far as in a financial standpoint, because we know that's how it usually works out. Even like when Kayla Harrison won her belt, she stuck around over there. As much trash as she was talking, we knew she wasn't going to make no move to the UFC. So even with Dakota now, with her situation, I knew this was what it was going to be. Okay, on the other stream we were talking about, I would love to see her move to the UFC and make that move, but when papers are signed, contracts are signed, you already know what's up. You already know what's up at this point. So I really don't see her making that move to the UFC probably till like 2026. So I think at this point we could just stop matching her up with fighters like Manon or, you know, Valentina, because if Manon beats Valentina, she's got contenders already in front of her before Dakota. You know, you got Natalia Silva, Aaron Blanchfield for a rematch. So even then we could say, okay, Dakota, if she moved to the UFC now, she would deserve like a title shot right away. That's if she did, you know, fight out her contract and it was done right now. But, you know, with the way the situation is going now, if it's being pushed out till late 2025 or 2026, you know, she's going to have to get in line then. You know, I don't think she'll deserve to jump ahead then, you know, because if she's not making that move right now, that doesn't give her, you know, the right to jump ahead of fighters like even Aaron if Aaron fights her way back, because Aaron already beat Tyler. You know, Aaron's got better names on the resume. Manon's got better names. So even Grasso, you know, so that's only if Dakota had no other fights on her contract. If she was free to jump here next year, fine, let her go ahead and try to, you know, do her thing. But if she's gonna be waiting another year or two, these other girls like Natalia Silva, they're too far ahead of her for her to try to jump in, you know. So that's just how I see it, guys. But yeah, I just wanted to update y'all throughout this, you know, throughout the midweek. You know, no lives later, you know, throughout this week. I'll be back next week, but I know some of y'all been asking a situation about Dakota. But yeah, she's not gonna be, you know, moving to the UFC anytime soon. And I wouldn't be surprised, with her talking about her age too at 25, 26, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see her in the UFC till like end of 2026, y'all. I'm just being real. But what do y'all think in the comment section? Combo Breaker 99, I'm out. Subscribe. Peace.